The Kuchisake onna, a so-called ghost that haunts Japan. It is said that she particularly chooses children as her prey. She is said to appear in front of children out of nowhere and ask them a question, and if they give her the right answer, she spares their lives. But the problem is, there is no right answer. In the late 1970s, from the villages of Japan, some rumors started to appear. That is why kids were returning from school. Some lady disguised in a bloody mask stops them. In Asian countries, it is not unusual to spot a huge number of people wearing masks. Especially in Japan. The people are often seen wearing masks outdoors because Japan is a really clean country. The lady in the mask used to ask the children a question, and no matter what the answer was, it would always lead them to death. In the 70s to 80s, Japan was developing at a steady rate and was on its way to catch up with the most advanced nations of the world. Then, on the other hand, some people were living their lives being terrified. Fear is such a thing that tends to exist without confirming the existence of the actual thing. But a fear is responsible for death. Then ItrillionEALLY creates a fear within us we never knew existed. To make it clear, despite having no scientific proofs about the existence of Kuchisake onna, this name still makes the Japanese people terrified. In the early 80s, Kuchisake onna rose the fear among most of the people in Japan. It is said that she used to appear on the empty abandoned lanes and streets with a surgical mask on. And used to attack children passing by. The way she attacked children was really disturbing and brutal. Whenever she used to see a young boy or a girl going home or to school alone or passing by an empty street, she used to appear in front of them out of nowhere and then ask them a question, "Am I beautiful?" Now, you might think that this is a really simple question, but this was not a simple question at all. Kugisaki onna might look like a really beautiful lady while wearing a mask. But when a kid used to answer the question negatively, she would strike them with a scissor and kill them instantly. Likewise, if a kid answered positively and said she was beautiful indeed, she would open her mask and show them her real face. And after having a look at her face, anyone was bound to be afraid because her face was divided into two halves, like someone had sliced through her mouth. And after she showed them her real face, she would ask them the same question again. "Am I beautiful?" After seeing her terrible face, it was normal for someone to answer negatively, and the moment they did that, she would instantly kill them. Now you might be wondering, what if someone replies in positive? Well, before I tell you that, just remember the outcome of the positive reply is much worse than the negative one. The moment a child says yes, she would grab them and slice their faces into two halves, and either one out of two things happen. Either the child dies out of agony or lives on with the horrible curse placed upon them by a demonic sadist. The impact of such incidents on the people of Japan was so hard that they had to stop sending their children to school out of fear. Not just that, the newspaper back then were filled with dozens of death noises caused by one vicious murderer. The Japanese people like to call the lady in the mask. The death and disappearance of the Japanese students rose so high back then that the Japanese government had no option but to provide them police protection to keep them safe. The question finally arises, who is Kuchisake onna? And why is she after the lives of the innocent children? Well, according to Japanese people, this story comes from the ancient Japan. About 1,200 years ago, there lived a really beautiful woman with her husband. She had a great pride of her beauty. Her husband was a samurai. In Japanese culture, samurai are considered an elite group of warriors. Being a warrior, her husband had to leave her for a war for some time. But after returning from the war, he saw his wife with someone else. Having no control over his anger, he struck his wife with a sword will slice her face in two. After that, he says, "Who will admire your beauty now?" And then he left his wife and the house, never hoping to return. The strike caused the lady to lose her beauty. She was so proud of and gave her a really terrible long smile like wound on her face. Whenever she used to go in front of a mirror, she used to realize her extremely beautiful face was now nothing but a horrible wounded face. Being not able to accept the reality, she kills herself with a scissor. And that's how she died. From this folklore, Japanese people assume that Kuchisake onna is no one but that lady, even though after the mid-80s no sign of her was ever found. Many articles were created in Japan's then newspapers, and many people still think she's out there, lurking in the dark, looking for her next prey. The thing this story tells us is the fact that arrogance and pride brings about nothing but doom and doom only, so we should always suppress these feelings. That's it for today, guys. Stay safe, stay happy, and always keep company when you are out in the dark. Goodbye.